Top 10 Scariest Ambulance Creepypastas. 10. Ambulance F283. A man woke up around 4 in the morning to hear the sounds of his 11-year-old daughter, Madison, screaming. The man and his wife, Sarah, went to check to see what was wrong. She said, "Daddy, please help me." As she began to roll around in pain, Sarah calls the ambulance. When the ambulance arrived, a large man with a long black beard jumps out of the vehicle, walking towards the front door. He said, "Pick her up, let's take her to the vehicle." His wife, Sarah, sat in the back of the ambulance with her. The man was going to follow the ambulance to the hospital in his car. So he went into the house to grab his keys, but when he came out to the driveway, the ambulance was gone. Later that morning another ambulance came to his house. The man was confused. The EMTs took out the gurney. The driver asked, "Is your daughter inside?" The man said, "My daughter was already picked up by an ambulance." The driver went back to the ambulance to make a phone call. The police couldn't find the ambulance that picked up his wife and daughter. Today the man tells his message saying, "Those you trust may turn out to be the ones who wish to hurt you the most. And, please, God, if your ambulance has the tag F283, don't go inside of it." 9. The Black Ambulances. A young girl and her mother were on their way home from her cardiologist. While they were driving, the young girl noticed an Audi speeding past them, being chased by a black ambulance. Her mom didn't notice the ambulance, but she noticed the Audi car. They stopped off at a local hot dog joint for some lunch. While eating her food, she noticed that while watching the TV, the Audi that she saw had crashed. One night, she got up from her bed to feel a slight burning sensation on her chest. She was rushed to the hospital. When she arrived in the ambulance, she saw the black ambulance waiting behind the one she was in. 8. Sirens. A family was on their way to a birthday party. On the way there, they crashed. Their son, Ariel, found out that him and his family were monsters. His parents had hidden the truth from him. He saw an ambulance coming to pick them up. 7. Why I'm no longer an EMT anymore. Since he was little, a man wanted to help people in need. 15 years later, he graduated high school. After he completed med school, he was now an EMT. But after many horrifying events, he quit his job. The main reason why he quit his job was because he found out that the calls he responded to were reported murders. And the scary thing is that the same killer who murdered the people who called him was now stalking him. So when you hear someone knock on your front door 3 times, don't answer it. 6. The Ghost Ambulance of the Zerky Tunnel. Many people say that when they go through the Zerky Tunnel, they see an ambulance that is from a very old era. And the sound of the sirens are so distorted, to the point that it can be heard as a terrifying cry. Others say that they have seen it go by unintentionally or without a companion. So they allege that it is a very bad taste, because it is said that on the route, there will be an accident where the driver and the companion will die. And if it happens only with the companion, only the software will die, and the companion. Not many truckers who stop to rest in the Zerki tunnel at night, say that they see it pass and get lost in the fog, and they say that the ambulance stops in the center of the tunnel, and when they go to see, there is no one inside the ambulance. Five. I'm an EMT and I think our patient is the devil. On the night of Saturday, 20th, 2 EMTs were sitting in the ambulance with their driver. They just left Burger King on East Palm Drive. They stopped to get their heart attacks on buns with a side of horrible indigestion, and a blue raspberry icy, of course. They were sitting in the ambulance, eating their food and talking, just trying to kill some time till a call came in. One EMT was praying for no calls. Then dispatch came over the radio saying, "Any available medics in the area? We have a 2D4 and 2C1 with a 3BA ad redacted." So with the lights and sirens on, they head to the scene. On the way to the scene, they noticed that they were the only emergency vehicle responding, which was quite strange. When they got to the scene, they noticed that the patient was acting strange. They found out that he bit himself. They also found out later on that he was the devil. 4. I'm an EMT, this call still haunts me. Paramedics were called over many times about a man falling over at a front yard barbecue, seemingly losing his breath, and passing out. They rushed to the ambulance, and drove down the road to the house, arriving 5 minutes later to a scene of frenzied spectators, and the man's wife crying, as she sat on the ground next to him. They discovered that he died without warning. One of the paramedics was about to close the man's eyes until his tongue moved. When he checked what was under his tongue, he screamed. Under his tongue were lots of spiders covered in blood. 3. Paramedic experience. A paramedic was driving home on a rural highway on a rainy afternoon. Suddenly, a red sports car drove over the center line in the middle of the road and crashed into the SUV in front of him. He immediately pulled over and called 911. When he got out of his car, he heard crying coming from the SUV. That's a good thing, because it means that they were breathing. He tried to help the red sports car passengers, but he couldn't save them. He told them out loud that he was sorry. Later that night, he heard footsteps coming from outside his bedroom. The door opened to reveal one of the ghosts of the dead passengers. The ghost said, "It's okay, we understand." Then the ghost closed the door, and disappeared. 2. A strange ambulance. 3 teenagers go to a graveyard on Halloween night. As they walked up the hill, an ambulance arrived at the bottom. The door of the ambulance opened, and out came an old lady. After a while she screamed, and then left. The teenagers decided that they have had enough, and left the graveyard. 1. Ghost Ambulance of Monterrey, Mexico. This next creepypasta is a series of videos that come from Monterrey, Mexico. According to the story, a man was murdered on the street of Ave del Paraíso, San Nicolas de los Garza, Nuevo León. He was taken to the scene aboard a car, and his perpetrators shot him at point-blank range. He passed away just as the ambulance arrived to pick him up. The roadside cross now marks the site of the tragic event. But here's where things get strange. Drivers began to realize that every time they drive by this roadside cross while listening to radio station 690 AM, their car stereo reception was interrupted by the unexplainable sound of an ambulance siren.
Ya vemos la cruz ahí. No mames, güey. No mames, güey.
Ahí está la cruz.
No mames, güey. No mames.
Ahí está la cruz en la orilla que
No mames, güey. Se siente bien ojete, güey.
no te pases. Se bien pesado.
No mames, güey. Güey, mira, güey. Güey. No mames, güey.
Ahí vamos. Por allá está la cruz. Dale lento, más lento. ¡A la madre! ¿Dónde está la cruz? Dale.
Tantas evidencias no pueden ocultarse. Esto es una realidad absoluta. El mundo ahora está con dimensión deportiva. Un enfoque diferente del deporte. Con Roberto Hernández Contreras, Víctor Manuel Hernández y Roberto Hernández Barocio.
¿Qué dice? Ay, que guarda el respeto.
A ver, ya estamos llegando y ahí ya yo ya estoy viendo la cruz. Y si se oye la ambulancia. Se está oyendo la ambulancia. No, me está dando miedo.
Graba para donde está la cruz.
Aquí está la cruz abajo. Voy a abrir la ventana para grabarla.
Graba para la cruz.
Aquí está la cruz. Tiene unas letras. Dele para atrás. Póngala.
Ni tantito a la altura, ¿eh?
No, nos da vértigo, pero...
¡Sí es cierto! Grábalos. ¿Qué pedo? ¡Sí es cierto! ¿Qué pedo, güey? ¿Qué pete, mamá? ¿Qué? A ver, la señal del celular está bien.
Las montañas pues fueron de las elegidas sobre todo el día de hoy.
Sí, la verdad, mucha gente yendo a las montañas, incluso, bueno, veíamos la...
Interesante, ahorita mencionábamos, sí, abrieron las albercas, sí, a irse a bañar y a los ríos y todo eso, pero es muy importante tener esa cultura de la seguridad. No arriesgarse los chavos que creemos que tenemos 7 vidas o creen que tienen 7 vidas y yo, la verdad, lo aplico como... Ahí sí me acabaron, 31 años. Antes ha estado en otros equipos, pero ya tiene 31 años, ¿eh? No, pues sí, ya me ganaste. Me dieron de todo, te la dijeron que no, pero así.